Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon, and we are here again today to work on Fate Lonely Dance. We are listening to 1 hour of Melancholic Soviet Wave, the second mix by Truck Fighter, because Soviet Wave is what we listen to here, I guess, now. So, let me see. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter stream today than usual. That is primarily because I was having some technical issues. OBS decided they wanted to fight me today. But, as you can see over here, I got a lot done, actually. This was kind of a thing that I was planning on doing, but if we go all the way down here to narrator notes, past all this, I have an optional section. Now, what are these? These are classes in the Fate verse that often don't get talked of, or they're only in Grand Order, or they are side, you could say, classes to things. So we have Shielder. Now that is pretty much, you can only really find that in Fate Go, but pretty much the Hello Computer updates. Pretty much the key idea with Shielder is that you have a giant shield and that you can hit people with it. I made them rank down in Bravado, rank up in Physical. They have obviously a shield skill and an ability to just not move if they don't want to, which is very handy in case you're getting absolutely manhandled by someone who can just maneuver around you. They did get a flat 20 plus health, the only one to Sabers in that. I kind of tried to make them, I wouldn't say polar opposites of each other, but very much both of these are going after the same idea. I also cut my finger today, so that's not good. Gunners are kind of a side class to archers. Instead of using bows and things, they use guns. So they get a rank up in warfare and rank down in physical. Their trick shot perk, if you go all the way down here, pretty much allows them to perform impossible feats of marksmanship. So in case one of your players is like, I want to thread the needle and hit that person across the map with a sniper rifle, yeah, they can do that. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm like checking back and forth on the stream manager just to make sure that it's not going to destroy itself, because I was having weird issues with OBS. So you have Avenger. Avenger's primarily from Fate Hollow Atrexia as the literal physical manifestation of evil inside of the Grail. However, Fate Go kind of turned them into just servants who are hell-bent on revenge, hence Avenger. Their usual gimmick is that they're pain to actually bring down, and they hit back hard. That they're also the third class to get 20 flat health. And the refusal to die, if we go all the way down here, refusal to die pretty much allows them to dump health into the negatives, and they can restore their health at 1-to-1 magical energy expenditure. Now you may be saying, but Notepad, that's ridiculously broken. Why don't you just spend all your health and then some and die? But that's the problem. You die. And if you overspend in a losing fight, you're going to lose. You're going to die. That's kind of the issue there. No matter how much you keep dumping in it, you're losing. You're going to lose. Strike back is pretty much health damage equal to the amount of health they have lost in a conflict. Actually, due to effectively what Strike Back does is, let's say they want to hit you for 6 health. That's what they want to do. They don't want to put any condition on you. They just want to hit you for 6 health. You hit them right back for 6 health. So as Avenger, you're more taking conditions and problems on your face effectively and trying to deal with it like that. Now we also have Foreigner. Foreigner's weird. In Fate Go, it is Abigail Williams of the Crucible fame and a few other characters that are strange, and that they've made contact with beings beyond the veil of reality, pretty much chaos gods from beyond time and space. I pretty much made them Bizarro, if I can sing words right now, Bizarro Berserkers. As they pretty much operate the exact opposite of them, is that they induce madness in others rather than being insane and getting all the benefits of being insane. As you can see, they get a lot of bonus magical energy in that, but they do get rank up any and rank down any, but their gimmick doesn't really lend itself well to combat. Faker is technically not a legit class that's dealt with in case files with Adult Waiver Man. And Faker's idea is that they're fake copies of servants, or they're not real servants. I decided to make them kind of their own class, as the idea is that they can use the body double perk or the counterfeit. We go all the way down here. Body double pretty much allows them to mimic other servants. Which, hey, I'm Saber. Ha ha ha. I'm going to kill you with my awesome sword. Ha ha. It's not real. And that's one of the things with also their counterfeit application, which they can mimic anything one for one. You could argue that Archer from Fate Stay Night is a faker, depending on how you want to interpret it. That's kind of their gimmick, is that they're always changing who they are and how they do things. So you don't know if you're going up against, are you really going up against Caster, or are you going up against Faker, who is pretending to be Caster with all the lights and sound of them, but not the actual let's say. So let's see, we have, go all the way back up. Watcher. Watcher is another one of those. It's not a class, but a class at the same time. My gimmick I gave Watcher was that they're not really able to come out. They observe the surrounding area. But they're pretty much super casters, but the problem is you can't bring them out, because unstable, we go down here, is difficult to summon properly to the world. They require 10 magical energy to physically manifest for a conflict. This is on top of how much you plan on spending for the conflict. So they're very expensive, but perfect observational capabilities surrounding the master. Aha, you can't literally sneak up on me because I can already see you. The problem there being the master has to be able to be alive long enough to deal with it. They'll be able to watch you, be able to tell you, hey, there's a guy following you, or hey, there are assassins behind you. But they wouldn't be able to do anything. They wouldn't be able to stop the assassin from leaping out of the shadows and stabbing your master in the face. Nothing could stop them from that. However, they'll be able to at least tell where they are. Oh, jeez. So, we also have Saver. Saver's technically only for Buddha. Because, yes, Buddha is a servant in the Fate universe. And his class is Saver. And his big thing is Counter Hero. Which, if we go all the way down here, Counter Hero, I made it so it reduces all servants' attributes by a full rank if they are engaged in a conflict. However, the problem is, Savior cannot reduce health of an opposing servant outside of escalations. You can't actually kill another servant with Savior unless they kill themselves. That's kind of their haha moment, is that you're not really being able to deal with people as Savior. You have to let them kill themselves, which can be very easy or very difficult depending on how you're operating on it, and how you build your character really determines whether or not Savior is going to be a good class for them or not. And finally, we have Ruler. Ruler's not meant to be played. It is supposed to be kind of as a narrator, I want to stat out my waifu in Joan of Arc, Genu, and you'd use the Ruler template for her. So I also have a side note, I didn't write that on demi and pseudo servants, and I'll get to that in a minute. But first, we're going to post all of these. Actually, let me look. Special and unique servant classes. We want to make that heading 2. Control C and Control V. And since we want to follow the format, we're going to bold all of these. Also, keep spelling madness with 2 D's for some reason, because I am in fact a fool. Now, I will be going around and trying to find pictures for everything, so no need to... Oh no, it's plain and boring. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's not plain. Ruler sign. Oh, that reminds me, since we're talking about pictures. Formatting, once I get this done. So, we have all these characters. You scroll all the way up here. So, we have the Ancestor, obviously, for keeping time and ruining carefully crafted plans, because what other man in the world can have his plans ruined so horribly? It brings ruin to his house and forces you to fix it. We already went through her, all of them. The Bellevue family from Final Fantasy Tactics, I think they represented a great family good enough. It was actually kind of hard to find what I wanted for this, because it's either Waifu bait with the Iceburns, Waifu bait with the Kiri family, not Tomine family, Kitsurugu family, the Evia family, I should say, or it is Rin. It's just Rin. So I instead went with the Bellevue family. Final Fantasy Tactics is the best Final Fantasy game, and you can fight me if you don't think that's correct. This is Ruler. This is Charlemagne from the Extella games. I thought it was appropriate to have him as Ruler in the program. There's the Dalt Waver, some more. And this is actually from a manga called Pope Francis, I Believe in Mercy, which talks about Pope Francis becoming the... becoming the Pope in a very cartoony style, which is kind of strange. Then I found this picture. This was literally me Googling Fate OC for this section, and this was like the second picture to show up. The artist credit is Seng Shual. Find one DeviantArt. Let's see. And then, do I have any other pictures here? No, I don't believe so. That was it there. Computer, please. Computer. So, let's go. Let's hit this button and all the way up here. Fate optional dance, special unique servant classes. We want to go all the way down here. Alright, now we want to hit that button, and now we're going to do effectively same thing as we did above. We're going to take all of these, make a insert table. I should do on perks and applications. Now, one thing to also note with these is that since they're here, you can also take them on other characters if you so wish. On other... Did I do it? On, let's say, I want for my saber to have unmovable. You can do that. Nothing's stopping you. If you and the GM you and your narrator work it out, you can say, hey, I want to have this very specific perk effectively on my character and using one of my perks for it. That's perfectly fine. I encourage it even. What I'm doing right here, so I haven't found pictures for that, shame on me, is I want to find very specific. Okay, I went UI. Alright, perfect. Go all the way down. I always try to keep things relatively consistent on these things, just for the sake of show, if anything. Probably doesn't mean that much in the long run, but it helps me sleep at night. This isn't really Russian doomer music, I was hoping. I was expecting more dread and Slav, but I like it. It works. Counterfeit. For example of using it for other characters, Archer from Fate Stay Night has counterfeit. Which, you may be saying, but that's his thing, no one else can have that. Nah. There's a lot of people in the world that have, you know, whose gimmick you could say is, oh, there's the Doomer music. There it is. Angry Russian really, you know, ties everything together. But there are people throughout history who have faked it till they made it. They would be fakers. So we want to do add-on, sort of paragraph A to Z, and per. Alright, now we want to hit that right there. I'm going to play on words there with the Masters of Their Own Fate. And effectively what we're going to be doing is taking my ideas from here. Create my very own Fate OC. Oh, I should write that. What I'm going to first do is write all these down. So connectors, diluted bloodline, weak bloodline, alright, what I'll probably do with these is also have what we did up here. Kind of just generic classes that anyone can kind of slot themselves into. Just, again, these are side things. These are optional. If you want to do this, that's what it's there for. So, but on demi and pseudo servants. Demi and pseudo servants are weird. And in lore, a demi and pseudo servant are effectively a servant that is, well, a demi-servant is half human, half servant. So pretty much you get all the powers of a servant, but not all the powers, and you get some of the powers of being human, but not. And then a pseudo-servant is a servant that can't be summoned properly, so they have to inhabit a human body. And it's the exact same thing, mind you. They are still the servant and can do everything. They just are using someone else's body because they can't properly manifest. Now, that sounds really confusing. And you would be completely correct in that assumption. It is fairly confusing. And that's kind of the issue. So I just want to double check everything. Alright, everything's looking there. And so what I'm effectively going to be writing here is pretty much, demi-servants are cut-down versions of servants, but they're more human. While pseudo-servant, I'm just going to say, do as you would a servant. Now, you may say, well, that's kind of a cop-out. And yeah, it is. It is a complete cop-out, but it's also probably the easiest for it to... probably the easiest to do in gameplay terms, and that's arguably what you always have to worry about, is what's easiest to play versus what's easiest to run. And this compromise is exactly that, a compromise. It's one of those things where you could go really deep into it and really find all the peculiarities, and that's not what this game is about. This game isn't about simulating it one-to-one. It is... Okay. So, kind of in the spirit of compromise, that's the requirements, you could say, about these. It's pseudo-servants are made of as normal servants, demi-servants are halves. Some of the benefits, some not of the benefits. So, as I was saying, let's get back to this. So, if we're following the same general gist, we're going to have perk A. Actually, I should. Is name, thing A, thing B, attribute, up, down, bonus 1, bonus 2. That's how it is. What I'm going to be doing, however, is they're only going to get one bonus. And this will primarily be a... Actually, I could do 2 bonuses. No, yeah, I'm going to do 2 bonuses. Bonus A, bonus B. But they're not going to get any attributes. No, they're only going to get one thing. But instead of 2 things, they're going to get social thing up. Okay. So connector. Power, rank up any, actually physical, warfare, mental, vado. Actually, you know what? Rank up fate. Rank up fate, rank down power. And their bonus A, let's see. So they're going to get pretty much plus 20 health. Actually, they only have plus 10. Plus 10 health. Plus 0 magical energy. Yeah, diluted bloodline don't get anything. They're kind of your baseline. they're effectively just normal people, but they don't get the. So let's see. +5 health. +5 magical energy. Weak bloodline. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put outside faction +1 and an inside faction +1. So effectively, if you're an outside faction, that means you're like the police. That's what they are. Or it's the, the school. It's things that are outside the war. I'll probably put a side note in this as well. Well, an inside faction is someone who is participating pretty actively in the war. So it's the Holy Church. It's the, these guys. Or it's someone that is actively kind of taking part in the current state of affairs. So you know what? I'm actually going to have me want to take the attributes out. So they're not quite doing what I want. You know what? No. I'm going to put an or there. Or. Alright, there we are. This isn't a perfect system. What I may do. Half of me wants to do something else with it, but I don't know what. It's right at the tip of my tongue where I know what I want to do, but I don't quite know how to do it. C'est la vie. These are just kind of their own things, so Actually, let me do a double check. Social influence. Put backgrounds instead of that. Haha, Mr. Perks. Also just thought I'm also going to do is that if we zoom all the way up, zoom, zoom, I'm going to boom. So we already effectively have the nobleman, the strong bloodline. Already effectively have the student. The homunculus. I'll have 3 more, just because these are fun to do. I like giving players options. Effectively, what the warrior is like their entire gimmick is I am trained to fight and kill you and not really do much else. So it's kind of a compromise of the assassin. You can argue, well, the assassin's like I'm a really focused, awesome, cool guy. The warrior is someone who could equally be a taiga, if we know that little known character, Fuji Nissan. You can also make characters akin to the assassin Kitsurugu. That's kind of that's what I'm seeing anyway with, say, I want to be a warrior. Pretty much, I am someone who's specifically trained to fight in this situation. The homuncula. Alright, there we go. 3 more. I think that rounds up things pretty nicely. So now what we get to do is flail helplessly as it decides it wants to do that for some reason. We want to highlight all that. Control-Shift-8. It's going to trigger someone, the fact this isn't in alphabetical order. So let's go all the way up. So we have Inhuman, Homunculus, Warrior Training, Affiliate, Background, Perk. Blue Blood. Perk. Formal Train. Informal Training. Non-magical perk. Okay. have? Effectively, what non-magical does is everyone else, if you have a little bit of magic, they can tell, like, he's got magic. Maybe we should stop him. To them, you look effectively like a normal dude. Side note. Perks and backgrounds. So now we're going to add one last side note. Side note. Inside and outside factions. Oh, perfect timing. Inside and outside factions. What I mean by inside and outside factions is pretty much who's in the war and who's not in the war exactly, and that's effectively what I'm going to be writing here. Outside. Alright, let's insert our final table. Side note, inside and outside factions. Backspace. Alright, that's it. 63 pages, everyone. 63 pages, and let's see how many words we have. 13,979. If I wrote a grand total of 21 more words, we would have 14,000 words exactly. So let's take a look at our base version right here. This is before we made any major changes to it. So let's see. Yep, we have officially, if I bring up my handy-dandy calculator here, that's calendar, not calculator. Notepad, what are you doing? Oof. We have officially 6,724 times 2. Yep, we have doubled everything roughly about it. And with that, Fate Lonely Dance has been fully updated. 63 pages of things and stuff. Pretty much all I have to do now, we might add another page or two by me just adding pictures to everything. But overall, I think we are done here. We're looking here. We've been streaming for 50 minutes roughly. So maybe wondering what's going on next. What's happening next in the magical world of Notepad Anon fixes his games. Now, what I planned on doing is doing something every month. However, that I kind of got... Starting this process, I kind of went a little faster than that. So, this is my things I want to do. Here are my 5 core principles to actually running what an RPG is. This is kind of for myself more than anything, and anyone else who really wants to participate in that. These are projects I want to do. We have a plain flat ERP. I mean, now you may be wondering, what do I mean by a plain flat ERP game? It is effectively a game that the sole point, the sole purpose, is, well, the hentai doujin RPG. It doesn't need to exist, as it kind of states there. And what do I mean by that? It's strange, because you think something that is done so often, ERP is actually a fairly major part, I'm actually standing right now just because I like pacing, is a fairly major part of the RPG community. And it always has been in one way or another. But one fascinating thing I always realized about it is you would think, oh, an ERP game. That would be mostly a game that's incredibly lightweight. You can narrate however you want, right? No. I found games that went down the ERP route tended to actually be a lot heavier in rules. They were things like Pathfinder, a lot of the 3.5, Exalted, for God's sakes. It became a lot of these like really dense games. I was curious on why. And that kind of prompted me to what makes those games do ERP so well, and I realized that they're not really playing for the game. That the ERP itself is kind of a side thing, and they're easy to hack those rules into it. So after a little digging around and only really finding Fatal, a Japanese game by the guy who did Necronica and Golden Sky Stories, which is another 2 brilliant games, by the way, I discovered there is not much what I mean by a pure flat ERP game. So I've inadvertently taken it upon myself to eventually, at one point, do one built from the ground up to facilitate that kind of play. And I have a game akin to that, but it's another project entirely. I'll go over that. Where the light fades softly. That should actually be down below. I'm working on that right now. Riffs. These are fixed projects. Projects in the fixed projects categories are things that I just want to fix. Like, they already have like an established book. They're already published. But I just want to make them so they're a little bit easier to play. Riffs is one. Riffs is my favorite RPG ever. And I say that with complete, not a single piece of irony. Because I view the game as almost perfect. Because it's everything you want in a game. There's giant robots. There's dinosaurs. There's laser battles. There's post-apocalyptic battle women who ride on back of Cthulhu monsters. Everything you want from the most 90s action movie, all mashed up into one world. And my God, the game is so horrifically, difficult to play because it's not really designed to be played. Almost, it's Kevin Sabeda's, AD&D hack, effectively, that he kept just adding on to years and years and years, and eventually released it. And Riffs is massive, mind you. There's dozens of books, and we're not even dealing with the fact that the main book has characters such as a vagrant being on the same class as a glitter boy. For those who don't know, a vagrant is a homeless person wandering the wastes. A glitter boy is a man driving a nuclear-powered super tank power armor that has a sonic boom gun. So, like, these are like on the same caliber of player character. I've always been fascinated. I loved it, and I played a few sessions of it. I was in, I'd say, a full campaign roughly, and I loved it. And I've always wanted to fix it, to really cut the chaff and just make my own version of it so I can play it with my friends and show other people, because it's really hard to run. It's how I run games is a little bit different than most people. So doing that, fixing everything up has always been kind of a dream of mine. And so the second one here is Kid World. Kid World's a really stupid game. Kid World's a weird game. And if you're curious about it, Google it. But the gist is it's Lord of the Flies on a global scale. And it has adults that want to eat people's eyes so they can see again, and kids who act like sociopaths, and there's like it's a strangely deep game, post-apocalyptic game about playing children, which is really weird to me. I actually read through the book, because there's a big thread of it on TG once, and I was just fascinated in it, absolutely fascinated in this. You know, I managed to find the book, and I read through it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the worst physical game I've ever read. It's such a mess. There's so much stuff in that game, and it's gonna be akin to Rifts. It's just get the good old butter knife out and just start hacking away at things that don't need to be there. So these are actually my old things that I've written a long time ago. Because I wrote a game called Heroes, Valor, and Mead a long time ago. It was kind of my generic system for everything. I ran that for years. And it got retired once I started the SPRUG movement. But these are things that I made for it. Because I tried to do everything in it. I tried to make my own GURPS, and it did not work. But it was fun. My players still have relatively fond memories of it. But the ones that I wanted to do it is Achieving Heaven. Achieving Heaven effectively turned into South African Dead Man Wonderland. And I thought that was a fun one. Flowers for Algernon. This was actually a friend of mine, and when I asked, I can make an RPG out of everything, he said, make an RPG out of Flowers for Algernon. And I'm like, okay. So I ended up with a game about being corporate sidekicks that explode. And the players are inadvertently kind of playing the corporations themselves. And they're sending they're pretty much these genetically modified, sidekicks out to do things, and they have to manage whose DNA, whose super DNA they're getting, and trying to turn a profit, but also trying to make sure your sidekicks live, so you can keep using them, but they're going to die eventually. This effectively explode. And there's also kind of that end goal is that when I originally wrote it, it was the legislation is going through to ban kind of the corporate sidekick gig. Because the Algernon program is what I called them. And ban it. And the idea is that's going to happen. That's kind of an inevitability that the corporations will effectively be rendered obsolete because they'll get, legislated out of existence. But it's kind of the build up enough of a golden parachute, build up enough of your Swiss bank account so you can retire in bliss. So you don't have to worry about it. Metal Gear Solid, that's exactly what it was. I actually wrote a full system for it. It was actually pretty decent. It made the characters feel like the quirky mini-boss squad rather than Solid Snake himself. And there is actually a stealth system. One guy actually proposed on TG, and it was effectively you roll a number of successes, and you have to spend those successes to do things. I thought about maybe employing that in kind of its own version. Okusan's Big Happy Family, I built an entire game, as you can kind of see that, Secret Police of a Totalitarian Dictatorship. Because I noticed a lot of these games, like, you got to oppose the man, but what if you played the man? That was my challenge for it. I actually got it in a 24-hour RPG challenge. And it was actually pretty fun. It's very, very Japanese. And that was kind of the point of it. I made a bunch of classes, like you can be samurai, you can be idols. It was super weird. I would like to go fix that. Finally, the Omega Men. The Omega Men is my earliest work. I would say it was probably like the first honest-to-God campaign that was an established setting, and I ran it in HVM. This was years ago. So long ago. I distinctly remember when I was in my basement at home. When I was still in high school. It was like my second year of high school. I was in my basement, and we had my friends. I can exactly know who was there. We played our first session. It was a disaster, and it was great. But pretty much what a Mega Men is, if I were to pitch it, to anyone, it would be Delta Green, except everyone can turn into monsters. And that was kind of there were alpha, betas, omegas, deltas. Alphas had monster DNA in them. Betas had alien technology, had weird technology. What did deltas have? I can't remember what deltas had. I know they're there. I can't remember what they had though. And then you had omegas. Omegas were the weird ones because they were the ones who had to eat monsters to get more powerful. And if I were to do that as system again, everyone would have to be omegas. That would be it would be the Omega Men. Let's see. Also, things I wanted to add to existing projects. Sexy Men Posing Dramatically was my JoJo game I actually wrote. You can kind of see it right. Sexy Men Posing Dramatically. Technically, it's in the Platinum Disco Inferno edition. This is my working copy of Platinum Disco Fever. I mean, I actually ran a full campaign with this. This was actually pretty fun. It's only 24 pages long. I might actually do a stream of just going through this and fixing things again. But I wanted to generify it, so I made the Oji-san Demon Slayer Corporation, which was based off... you got 5 minutes to make a pitch for a game. So I wrote this, pretty much your old Demon Slayers. Pretty much it's old men being dramatic... the sexy old men being dramatic at each other and kicking the shit out of demons. And one of the key things is that keep losing. You don't level up, you level down effectively. And you're losing your power, you're losing control over your demon. But you're still trying to go as long as possible so you get your highest pension. Because that's what you're fighting for, is your pension. Let's see. So these are my finished projects in one way or another. This is technically now called Hearts of Darkness. Bloodcoin Seal we went over, standard issue science fiction. Let's see what we were going to. So, in March I was actually going to go over Granbelm and Feast of Legends, Clapback Edition. So, I think we can do that. I think that'll be fun. We can start going over, let's go over Feast of Legends, actually. Let's do Feast of Legends, then Granbelm. I think we've had a lot of anime. So... Feast of Legends. Oh boy, Feast of Legends. Let's go back to Feast of Legends, everyone. For those who don't know what Feast of Legends is. Feast of Legends is a game that Wendy's put out. It is a full-on tabletop RPG that Wendy's put out. I hate this game. I loathe Feast of Legends. Hated it. Just the idea behind it kind of got under my skin a little bit. It was... Instead, this came out right when I started really doing SPRUG stuff for myself. And it annoyed me that it existed because it was not genuine. It wasn't a friendly game. It was made for marketing. The entire point was marketing, and obviously no one had actually sat down and play tested it. No one cared about it. They made it to appeal to people, to say, look how funny it is that we made a tabletop RPG that's a cut down weird version of D&D. And it annoyed me. I don't know really why it bothered me as much as it did. But again, if I had to kind of, pin the nail on the head there, I would say it annoyed me mostly because how ungenuine it was. It was so disingenuous. And I like to make games because they're fun. I want to get more people to play them. I want more people to enjoy them for what they are. Because to me, an RPG is a social experience. It's when I get to hang out with my friends, I get to talk with them, I get to have fun, we get to roll some dice, and we get to have a blast, we get to tell a story together. That one felt it took it, and then it was the first big shot, here's corporate marketing, but it was so obvious that they had people go in there who knew how to do it, who knew how to make an RPG, and they didn't care. It was not play tested hardly. There was classes that were just broken, and things didn't work in it. So in a fit of rage, you can say I rewrote it. I rewrote Feast of Legends. I called it the Clapback Edition because they make an active point of calling her the Clapback Queen. Yeah, yeah, and this was also my other big thing is no one really cared. And it's let's see. So I wrote this as a pretty much full on D20, and I did get some help with it, but overall, writing this was a nightmare on wheels, for better or for worse. But where it is now, let's see, because there's actually some interesting bits to this game. And you kind of see I did like the full order of the frosty, order of the baked potato. Like, again, I just... yeah, you can actively tell there was taking the piss, you could say. So I'm just kind of like going through it right now. I'm going to have to fix all this. And I can... that's pretty much what I'm going to have to do. Jesus, there's so much stuff. Oh goodness, oh goodness gracious. Oh goodness gracious me. Yeah, you can tell. Again, this is where... this got 3 threads on TG of gradual descent into madness. I would say... yeah, Notepad's big thing time. Yeah, you kind of see. I kind of say I'm done, but I'll be fixing this. I think it'll be a fun little thought experiment more than anything. I also wrote this Starved Legends, Crash Diet. What this was someone got mad saying, "Well, this is dumb. This is just dumb. It shouldn't be this way." And I don't like the food part. I don't like the food's dumb. Let's do something else. So I rewrote the entire the entire game and replaced all mentions of food with what can roughly be summarized as Garamuchi. I mean, started with like the flaming rogue, the stupid sexy rogue, the lovely and roguish rogue. It just gradually escalated to just madness of me just making fun of this guy almost. Yeah, I was, taking the piss out of this one pretty significantly. As you can notice, it's just me doing a Notepad document. Let's see. Yeah, this is a pretty accurate depiction of me during this time. Yeah, the madness kind of overtook me with this one a bit. So yeah, that's what I think we'll be doing next stream, is we'll be working on Feast of Legends, the Clapback Edition. We'll try to be clapping back and fixing things up, making it a little bit better. All right, everyone. Well, thank you all for watching this far. Fate Lonely Dance is complete. It is 63 pages of how to run your very own Holy Grail War. And I think it works. Hopefully it works. If you do ever decide you want to playtest it, tell me, and I'll give you the book. All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of the day, and have a nice time.